My name is Guo Yue. Guo means kingdom, my family name. Yue means leap forward. 1958 is a big revolution in China called Great Leap Forward Revolution. So I was born 58. I grew up during the Cultural Revolution, and I left China in 1982 to further my study in the West. And now I made this CD called Music, Food and Love. Music, Food and Love is also a book which I wrote about when I was little, living through the Cultural Revolution. This piece of music is called Hutong, Alleys. I grew up between the drum tower, bell tower, and the river. And the Hutong is the old part of China, old part of Beijing. And now we say Beijing. Hutong are so many little alleys in Beijing, and very overcrowded. And there was no high buildings. So this piece of music is about the atmospheric in Hutong people's life, living. You can see the steaming come out of steamer from the room, the next neighbor chopping, and you can hear the sound of the rhythm, and you can hear what kind of food almost. You can tell what kind of food they are eating. People talking to each other, asking each other about life. And also you can hear a lot of bicycle sound and just the life and living in the alleys. This piece of music is called Dragonfly. When I was little, I always go to the river with one of my best friends. We grew up together, actually from the same courtyard, and his name is Xiao Xiao, little. And we play, every day we play together because there was no toys when we were little. So the most thing we play is we go to the river, and I think we play with all the like we treat the nature is our toys, like seeing the bird, catching the dragonfly. So this piece of music is about we go to the river when the sun set, we stay there, wait until the sun is really nearly going down and it's reddish color, and the dragonfly flies very low, and that time it's very easy to catch dragonfly. And once we caught them, we put them in our hand very carefully between our finger, and come home to train them and tell them what to do, fly into the curtain. And next day, we release them and let them go free. So this piece of music is about this. A Dark Red Violin. This track is really has a very deep impression on me because my father plays this instrument called erhu, which is a 2-string Chinese violin, and it's one of the old traditional instrument in China, and we use it in all occasions, and people use this instrument a lot. And I remember when I was very little, my father used to play this music for me, and it always sounded quite sad because he was very ill when I was little. So he always played quite sad pieces for me. My father died when I was 5 years old, and all I can remember is when he finished performance, and he always carry his case, come back home. When he opening his case, I can see this beautiful red velvet material, but inside there's a compartment which used to put wax, because you have to wax your bow. But my father always put a little bit sweet. He always gave this treat, some sweet or a banana or apple he put inside of the case. So when he opening the case and when I see the sweet or banana, I'm very excited because my father always keep it for me and he never eat it. Bai'e is white swan. Well, white swan, this is a tune about my mother. My mother come from the north of China, which is very near Russia, and it's very cold there. So it's very famous for ice skating. And also, when I was little, my mother was keep telling me and how Russian people always ice skating with their fur coat and very romantic meeting boys. So my mother had this thing, and she always goes ice skating with her friend, meeting people, meeting boys and talking to each other. And it's a very romantic thing to do if you're in the cold place. And my mother has a lot of Russian influence because her place where she was born, she has a lot of Russian friends, so they used to go to ice skating all the time. And this piece of music, I used some Western musicians because I find my mother had a lot of influence from her friend, or where she was born, that place had a lot of influence from Russia. So actually, I used some Western instrument, which such as mandolin and also accordion, and even underneath there is some string sound from Budapest.
小河轻轻地流，小杨树在那清澈的河边。
Paper boat, 小纸船。This song is about my 3 sisters. Always dancing around, cooking, singing, and very happy. When they is frying potato, and they laugh, holding their spear, dancing around. And often they ask me if I'm around. They say, "Why don't you go play?" So I go to the river and making a little paper boat. And I love making paper boat because once I put in the river, I put the paper boat in the river and seeing it go floating away. I always find it very, very deep down when it makes you think about life, think about how long the paper boat can survive in the river until it gets wet and change the shape. So it's a very beautiful thing to do once you live near a little river. That's why I did this a lot when I was little. White kite, 白风筝 in Chinese we say. 风筝 is very, very kite. It's very, very important for Chinese, I think for every Chinese people, because in the old days we have all very many different kind of kite. It has got animals, people. I think it's all different shapes. It comes from all different shapes, different colors, and different materials even. And but during the revolution, Cultural Revolution, they banned the Red Guard banned flying kite because a lot of people before using kites to put words on the tails and flying, and then when people look, sometimes when they come down, you can see what's the writing, and then that is too much, too dangerous for the government, for the Chinese Communist Party. So they banned it. But I love to make my own kite. I use this little paper, which we call message paper in China. It's very thin. And when I fly it, I like thin paper because when you fly it, you can hear the sound, the rattling sound. It's a very, very beautiful sound. And I make the kite at home, and very simple, just a rectangular. Because I like simple kite, because I feel I want to imagine it rather than seeing a very complicated kite. So I make a white kite with a white tail, and of course not writing anything, but going to the river and to have it in the sky very high. And I always feel this is the best moment because it makes you feel, you almost feel you can see it in the end when it goes very high. And you have that feeling, you can still feel the string, pulling the string, but yet you almost can't see your kite. So that moment is one of my happiest moments because nobody can touch it. It's so free. My First Flute, this tune is about during the Cultural Revolution. And when they started the Cultural Revolution, everywhere is a big mess because all the street was occupied by Red Guard and workers. And so beginning of the revolution, the Red Guard goes everywhere and starting destroy old buildings, cutting girls' hair. If you have long hair, you have to cut it short. So when the girls come out of bus, immediately go up to cut people's, women's hair and cut their heels. If anyone had a heel, high heel. So they are trying to do everything in the city. So I was very small and I was quite excited, but also very frightened when I see them beating people in the other courtyard. So all I can do is mostly stay in. But my neighbor, who is called Hu Hai Quan, and his name is very beautiful. I always think he has a good name. Hai means sea, Quan means the resource of the sea. And he is come from countryside, and he played this instrument called Swan, which is almost like a trombone, equivalent to a Western trombone. And he said to my mother, I'm going to buy a little flute, help little Yue buy a little flute and let him to practice flute instead of going out. It's quite dangerous. So my mother gave me, I remember those days, it costs very, very little money. And bamboo flute is the cheapest instrument in China. And I got it, my little flute. And I remember it's a red color, beautiful with a paper case. And from that night, I remember I slept so many nights with my flute beside my pillow. And I used to open it if I can't sleep and smell it, the beautiful of the bamboo smell. And I can sleep very well. I still can remember that. And so the first flute is about, how did I start to learn the flute. I, in Chinese, is most important word, love. The Chinese character for love, actually, on the top is a heart. Underneath the top is a roof. And underneath the roof is a friendship. So Chinese must think three things together. If you have a heart, you have a good roof, you have a good friend. It makes it beautiful. It must be very loving. So there are so many different aspects of love. Between my parents, sister, brothers, and relatives, friends. But during the Cultural Revolution, and the love was all banned. They banned the love because if young couple, they are not allowed to love each other. And all the love songs was banned, traditional old songs and old tunes about love. And everyone married have to have this kind of comrade married. You have to marry someone in your same company, and you have to know the background of the person. Is it come from a really peasant family? Like the family shouldn't have land, should have nothing. That means you're good. And if you have a romantic love, if you go to somewhere to meet, and you will be caught by the plain clothes, and then you will be in a big trouble, and you might be put into jail. So love was completely banned during the revolution. Sulin means calmness of the forest. It's my mother's name. And during the Cultural Revolution, my mother was taken away by the Red Guard, and she was beaten when they carried her back. And I remember that moment. My sister, all around her, not let me see my mother because they were frightened that I would get very, very hurt. And I was too small because. And when they were washing my mother, when they carried my mother back, I remember all her hair with ink poured everywhere, and her back was beaten and putting salt on top of after whipping her. And I remember that moment, how sad, I don't understand why they beat my mother. I just want to ask one word, why? In Chinese, 为什么? Why beat my mother? So when I wrote this tune, when I create this tune, I almost feel each time when I play it, I still ask, why? Why beat my mother? Why? What my mother did? So all this tune, when I did it, especially went to Budapest with the secret string orchestra, and when they played it as well, And we all have this feeling of kind of wanting to know what's happened to my mother, why they did it. This is a song called Swallow. In Chinese, we say 燕子. It's a traditional love song from Xinjiang province. Xinjiang province is almost like another country for us because they speak different language and wearing different clothes. And the people looks different. They have big nose and very big eyes, very different from us. So I remember my sister loved this song so much because with all the Western song was banned. We were not allowed singing any European Western songs. So for Chinese song, like from Xinjiang province, is already like equivalent to a Western song. So I remember my sister always using a red silk scarf, holding it, posing, and singing this song, and try to be dreaming about the other world. And it's a very romantic song. Little bird must fly, 小鸟一定要飞走. My mother always tell me whenever I'm with my mother always say, sit down, 小月, little 月. I want to tell you.
春蚕到死丝方尽，蜡炬成灰泪始干。
My mother always reads this poem for me. It's about the silkworm when it's giving all the silk itself. In the end, it died. But it gave beautiful silk to people, to the world. A candle burns. When it's burning, you can see the dripping. It's like tears. Afterwards, give all the light to people, but the candle itself finished. So my mother say, I'm old now, Yue. You can fly now. So I remember always I want to write something, a tune about this. So this tune, it shows all my heart and how much I miss my mother, and I'm a little bird away from the nest. And I miss the nest very much, and it recalled a lot back of when I was young. When I'm in the nest, what I got from my mother, all the things she taught me. And before I left China, my family made a big feast of dumplings. And in China, when they make dumplings, that means someone's going away. It is quite traditional. And also because when you make dumpling, everyone making the dumpling together is like a factory. And everyone talk to each other. And so it's a very, very much a communal thing. And after eat dumpling, and I left my mother, and this poem and always in my mind. So now I created this tune, hopefully to show everyone that the little birds must fly away, but in the end, always missing the nest.